bright blessings. Happy Sunday, relatives. The ancestor is the Pahu, which arrived at PIEAM and with no documentation. And there is a Kanaka belief that the Pahu chooses you. And the Pahu has chosen Ālaoi'a, Moni, Pili as the relative, because prayer is an awakening to the voice and work of the divine already in your life. Sanamasi.
Suzusamasi, Auntie Fran. And I'd like to continue that introduction for our featured artist. Āloai'a Moni Pili was born in Hawaii and raised in both Samoa and California. He is a descendant of Samoan, Tagalauan, German, and Chinese ancestries. He hails from the islands of Samoa and the villages of Pawai'i, Itiuta, Palaniu, Nu'uli, Lotofaga, and Malaila. He serves his family and village as Matai, or chief, of the Ālaoi'a family. He is co-founder and director of education for Langafa, a community organization committed to the preservation of Samoan language, culture, and identity. He also co-founded More Than Marks, a nonprofit that strives to educate that the motifs or marks on the body, or tatua, are the original written language of the Samoan people. And there's wisdom and history that can help those navigate through life in time and space. So without further ado, Āloai'a, would you join me?
Talofalava, malolele, afade, kumustapo, bulavinaka, yorana, aloha. Warm Pacific greetings from here in Long Beach, California. Thank you, Mickey, for the nice introduction. It's really familial, it's really laid back. But before I start, I do want to recognize something of great importance, and that is the land recognition of where I stand. I'm residing here in Long Beach, California, so Southern California. And I want to recognize the indigenous rightful owners of the land which I stand on, the Tongva Nation. And I think the best way to recognize land acknowledgement is to also recognize my own motherland. And so without further ado, if you don't mind, Mickey, I would like to recognize the honorifics of back home. Fatalo fatu mafafilwa iatu olo oelo fonga maya I lunga le ne upenga te whailangi. Leo whaingoruenga a le tua I so se fata whaitaulanga papena foil au sinasino tatu atunu. O paia o Samoa o lo whaafonga mai I so se tafa o lalunangi nei. O paia lava lea o la auna amo tasi. To o fale ula o la tona tu ia upu ya te oe le munu atele. Pa ia ia sua malawai whanua, fo mai tu langi, sa ole malasale au mua, malalaungiu sa ilua. Tainane le pa ia o ainga malatu tama fo I malatu ainga. Aingo tupu, aingo wee, aingo nofo, aingo tawhaiwha. Mamalu usonga ya tu mua mapule, I tu au maala tawa, ainga I tai malen va au fonuti. Pa ia nau Samoa, e whaala ai tatu tangata I so se I tu o le lalulangi nei. O te toi tapa atu fo I le vasa, a wau te le liu fo I le whala, ono o tātou o ainga. E pa ia lava lea foi, I le atu motu o Hawaii. Mai le tupu, ali inui na mua, ka meha meha, se ioo I le tupu ta maitai, le afionga, Her Royal Majesty, Queen Lili Uokalani. Ali inui mal falifia, Maupuia te oi Hawaii. I give the honorifics of my motherland in Samoa, and I also give the honorifics of the land which I was born in, the beautiful islands of Hawaii. I also stand here on sacred ground, a land that is rightfully owned by the Tongva Nation. The Tongva Nation consists of many tribes. Many of them line the coast here in Southern California. They are by all means a water tribe, a water people. And as son of the ocean, it is my honor to speak of my journey with the ancestral piece of the Pahu, which also comes from the land of the ocean and from the people of Hawaii. And so I am grateful for this opportunity. Auntie Fran, who is now joining me on the first floor of this amazing sanctuary. She is the steward of PIEAM, and I'm grateful for her permission and for her stewardship to enter this sacred sanctuary. For those of you who are here and those of you who are listening in from outside of California, if you ever come to SoCal, specifically Long Beach, I implore you to come to this home, to this fale, and to see the pieces of all of our ancestors from Oceania. Faftai lava, Miki, malolava soifua, langima. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Afatai malo, Āloai'a. We are so humbled and honored for you to, bring your powerful journey to us right now, and we're just so excited. So without further ado, I'd like to play. We'll be showing two of the pieces that you were inspired to create during this 3-week journey, and so I'd like to start with the first video. So I will share now. Oh, pardon me.
O le ale mafuaanga na fili mai au. O le ale mafuaanga na fili mai au. O le ale mafuaanga na fili mai au. I'm not even Hawaiian.
So Āloai'a, I'd love for you to, talk to us about that piece.
That was one of two. So in that piece, that footage, it was a repeated question. And the question was in my native tongue, "Ole mafuaanga na fili mai au." Why did you choose me? That's an actual conversation that happened between me and the Pahu. And so I'm going to give you a backstory because we're going to do this thing called whangongo. Whangongo storytelling. And storytelling is how we keep language alive. And so this is a true whangongo, a true story. Over about a year ago, Auntie Fran came to me and said, "Hey, I spent nights, many weeks talking to the ancestral pieces. And I was having these conversations, conversing with them to see who they chose to represent them, to have experiences with. And she told me with the utmost seriousness that the Pahu chose you, Moni." At that moment, I was very honored and excited. And in fact, without hesitation, I looked at her without really considering the impact of what it meant to be chosen by the Pahu through this elder. I said, you know what? It makes sense. I was born in Hawaii. Mom was born and raised in Hawaii, and I'm supposed to go to Hawaii for a family function. You know what? I think this is great. I'm in alignment. Then, of course, COVID happened, and all of the chaos that came with it, right? And because of COVID, we pushed back the transmission. It's been about a year now. And so a year later, I came with the same excitement and enthusiasm. And I remember walking through the door last month in February, and I had that excitement, told Auntie Fran, I'm ready. And she left me alone with the Pahu on the first floor. It was just me, the Pahu, and everything else you see in here, in the mana of the sanctuary. So as I entered this fale, the fale that I am in now, I sat right in front of the ancestral pieces, and I sat in front of the Pahu. With the excitement, I felt that I should ask the Pahu permission before touching the Pahu. So then that's when I said in my native tongue, I was posing the question, Āloai'a mafua'anga na fili fili maiau, with excitement. And to no avail, no answer. I let a few moments pass. And then I posed the question again. Āloai'a mafua'anga na fili fili maiau. No answer. All of a sudden, the feeling of excitement and enthusiasm and that started to subside. And now I started to get worried. I wasn't feeling anything. And then I asked a third time, Āloai'a mafua'anga na fili fili maiau. Why did you choose me? Still no answer. And all of a sudden, my mind started to doubt, and I started to feel like maybe Auntie Fran was wrong. Sorry, Auntie Fran, but that was my feeling. Maybe I wasn't worthy for this Pahu. Maybe choosing me was a mistake. Maybe there was some type of miscommunication there because I wasn't feeling anything. And so I sighed, as I did in that video. I took a sigh and I without being mindful, I just blurted out the words, I'm not even Hawaiian. And I kid you not, I heard a thump on that Pahu. And then my mind started to flood with memories and stories that were told to me. I started to think of my mother, who was born and raised in Hawaii. She's from Kalihi, went to school there, all the way to Farrington High School, all the way to BYU, Hawaii in Ālaoi'a. She met, at the time, the love of her life. And throughout her life, she was raised there. I could picture Mom with her stories, picking papaya and guava and eating pineapple, mango. And then I heard a voice saying, I fed your mom. I nurtured her. And then I started to think of my birth, when Mom was pregnant with me, eating the fruits of the land. And when she gave birth to me in Kailua, I envisioned myself being bathed in water. And then I heard the voice, the water came from me. I cleansed you. Hawaii welcomed you into this world. Gush of emotions started to rush through my mind and my heart. And so in the midst of doubt, I realized in that conversation with the Pahu that I was worthy. And I know a lot of people feel that way sometimes, that they're not worthy when it comes to their islandness, when it comes to their identity. But the Pahu reminded me that I was worthy. And so I grabbed it, hugged it, and I started to beat it so I can hear it speak. And so the first thing that came to my mind after beating the drums and hearing the Pahu sing was "Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono. Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono o Hawaii." And so I just started singing that over and over and still envisioning Hawaii welcoming me into this world. And being a son of the ocean, that enthusiasm and that excitement came back, but it came back with responsibility now. And just because I was born somewhere, it doesn't make me entitled, because where much is given, like the saying says, much is required. And so that was my journey with the Pahu when I first validated my worthiness to speak with it and sing with it and beat with it. And that's the inspiration behind the first piece, Mickey.
I remember you had also, you're a teacher yourself, you're a steward of knowledge. And there were also in the arc of speaking to the Pahu and hearing its journey, taking in its journey. There were also events in your life or in class that were speaking back to perhaps the theme that the Pahu is trying to relate to us. So,
absolutely. So the first piece you saw there was the first conversation between me and the Pahu.
mm-hmm.
As I started to spend time with the Pahu, Auntie Fran was giving me permission to visit the sanctuary. And through those times, the message was very clear. The Pahu, first of all, as I said, where much is given, much is required. Even though I'm from the islands, and even though I have that connection to Hawaii, does not make me entitled. Yes, we share ngafa in Samoan, that means lineage. But also I have to pay honor to the people, or the Kanaka from Hawaii. So I tried to reach out to Kumuhina, a beautiful icon in the movement, and also Kumonila, who is here in California. And hearing from Kumonila, hearing from people of Hawaii, when I was reaching out to them, I was just asking them about the Pahu, or just asking them about their feelings about being Kanaka. It was in those exchanges with those individuals, I gained a lot of knowledge about the Pahu. Of course, used in hula, it's a sacred instrument, but it's an instrument that's, as I was told, was for the elevated hula and songs that are supposed to be for deity, for the gods. And so with that in mind, I also had to elevate my own self and understanding and trying to see what the Pahu was trying to tell me. My job as an artist is not to present what the Pahu means. My job as an artist is to present what the Pahu taught me. And as Auntie Fran said in the beginning of this transmission, everything in this museum, there is archival records of how it got here, except for this Pahu. It was here before Auntie Fran, and through many inquiries and asking people of the community, no one knows how it got here. With that knowledge, there came a sense of loneliness, of not knowing how it got here. But as you can see, it found a family. It is among other ancestral pieces that brought the Pahu in as their own, and it wasn't alone. But there was a message that the Pahu was teaching me. Its journey, how it got here, no one knows how, no one knows when. A lot of people in our community feel the same way. As you mentioned before, Mickey, I teach language and culture. every class, every term, every cohort. Know their nafa or their lineage, and a lot of them take our classes to find themselves, but more importantly, after everything is said and done, to realize that they are enough. And so the Pahu's journey here to PIEAM can resonate with so many in our community who feel a sense of lack of connection to their motherland. But as a cultural practitioner and as an artist and an orator and as a whaiaonga teacher, I tell all of you who feel that way, as the Pahu did, that you are enough. And wherever you are, that is also where your home is. The med tuwayo vai, o Samoa lena, o Hawaii lena, o Guam lena, o Tuvalu lena, o Tokelau lena. Wherever your 2 feet is planted, that is your mother home. And so, yes, thinking of all of my students' testimonials that come through Lengafa, and the other teachers can attest to it too. We hear their testimonies of finding themselves in our classes and understanding that now that they have a true sense of identity, their purpose is clear. And now they are also whaiaongas in their own right, teachers in their own right to tell their own stories and to write their own narratives, just like the Pahu was telling me in my time spent with it. And so, yeah, if that makes sense, Mickey. Yeah.
It's beautiful. It makes perfect sense. And I do feel like we should just, sit with what you said and watch your next piece. But there was something that I was thinking about that, and I know that Auntie Fran is off camera, maybe if she can correct me, but I think I have heard her say that these objects are on their journey. This is a sanctuary. Actually, you were the one that really has, push that terminology for PIEAM, and I'm totally adapting it because I do think it's a sanctuary for a lot of us and these ancestors. But sometimes their journey is not complete just in PIEAM, and so they've found a temporary home in PIEAM, some of them. And as with the Pahu, if it's called back to its motherland, then it will go. And so, if Auntie Fran wants to make any corrections to what I'm saying, but this is also just a message too, that if this reaches the right ears and an elder, a Kanaka elder, that might be strongly connected to it, then we would love to hear from them.
Thank you for saying that. And Auntie Fran's giving her approval nod. She says no, she doesn't need to say anything. She agrees with everything you said. And I'm glad you said that. By the way, this is not the final home for the Pahu. And for all of those who feel disconnected, I want you all to know, who are tuning in now or later, that you still have a place to call home. And I implore you that you have every right to go there. And if you can, please visit the motherland, wherever you are from. Visit the motherland. Although, like the Pahu, you didn't know how you got here, but that doesn't mean you don't know that you're gonna go back home, because you are, and you can.
Fafatai, Āloai'a. And I think with that, let's watch your final video. Oh.
Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono. The spirit of the land is perpetuated with righteousness. Ua mau ke ea o ka aina, o ka aina I ka pono. Ua mau ke ea o ka aina, o ka aina, o ka aina I ka pono. Ua mau ke ea o ka aina, o ka aina, o ka aina I ka pono. Ua mau ke ea o ka aina, o ka aina, o ka aina I ka pono. O ka aina, o ka aina I ka pono. Oh, Hawaii, yeah, yeah. Hey. Oh, Hawaii, Hey.
Sijasmasi, Āloai'a. Unless there's anything you'd like to leave us with, but I feel like that everything that you have gifted us with, your talk story, your wisdom, I'll be sitting in that for a while, and especially with the harmonics that we just heard and took in. So
Saina Ma'asi, again for the opportunity. I guess in closing, I just want to emphasize the importance and principle of space and time. I left the shores of Hawaii months after being born there. The artists that came before me to do transmissions, to you, Mickey, to Isio, to Auntie Fran, to my family in Lingafa, to More Than Marks, to my Āinga here at home and back home in Samoa. The Va is what connects everyone in that space and time. And as we breathe in life and breathe out life, we are living from each other's Va, from each other's mana. Mana, which reminds me of the word manava, which means to breathe. Manava means two words, mana and va. And so I want everyone who's listening, as a human being, but especially as an islander, that do not underestimate the mana that you possess, the power that you have. Being a cultural practitioner, you know, sometimes we put our heart on the table and it's so overwhelming and it can get really tiring. And we're so used to filling up the cups of so many others who are trying to learn that we forget to fill our own cup. And that's why I want to remind us of the power of the Va, is as if we were to share each other's mana so that we never feel overwhelmed, but always feel strong enough and have enough energy to continue to fill others' cup, other people's cup. Where much is given, much is required, but we are all the same, in the same Va. And so do not be stingy with your Va. And don't also, there's another side. Don't be too overpouring with your va too. Be wise and be aware. But always understand that there's always this sense, the spring, this well that we can all go to refill our cups. And don't forget to refill your cup, people. My brothers and sisters out there. Being Islander is hard because we love hard. We serve hard. We do a lot. But I want all of you to also know, since this is the only chance I probably have to say this on this platform, sometimes we like to go overboard. And if we do so much to where it makes our families and customs or our families and culture suffer, you no longer respect the customs. So do it with the full heart, but also do it with alofa. And do it with being mindful and considerate. Fill your cup once in a while. That's AKA self-care. And so in closing, I leave with you my prayer, my tatalo, my mana to all of you. And even though we never met before, we knew each other before this time. And this is not goodbye, because in this space and time, our mana lives on eternally. Soifua, mai'a manuia.
I think I can speak for, I'm sure a lot of our audience members are feeling as though their cup is very full right now. So again, Sainam Asi, Talofa Lava. And please join us again in a month. Our next feature artist will be Melody Tururi, and we've already onboarded her. And we're excited, we're just so very excited to keep moving with Pasifika Transmission. So thank you all for being with us today. We'll see you next time.